Okay, hi everybody. I thought I would share with you the latest thing I've done to my Neon. It's been a good car, love the car, but totally lacked in performance, so I decided to upgrade the powertrain a bit. And we put in a V6 out of a Dodge Grand Caravan. It's 3.8 liter. I'm going to do a series of videos. This is kind of like an introduction to show you what's all involved with doing this. I'll have separate videos on how I did the air conditioning, how I installed the engine, all the other things that you got to know before you decide to do something like this. This is not the kind of it's not the kind of project you want to try as a first-time engine swapper. This was pretty in-depth, pretty complex. As you can see, I had to build my own intake manifold. The throttle body is basically the minivan throttle body upside down. On the minivan it was on this side. I flipped around and put it on this side, put it upside down. My throttle cables actually run underneath the manifold, come around. The goal on this project was to have a car that was transparent. I didn't want a hood scoop. I didn't want things to be goofy. This car, everything works. Air conditioning works, cruise control works, power steering works, and believe it or not, I drove it from Vegas to here last week, which is Lake Havasu, Vegas to Lake Havasu, about 144 miles on 3.8 gallons, which comes out to be about 37 miles to the gallon, give or take. That's actually better fuel economy than it got with the 4-cylinder that was originally in the car. So if you're thinking about doing this, there's a lot of advantages to it. There's a lot of good things about it. It's a lot of work, but it can be done, obviously. Yeah, you can see it here. I would say if you're going to do it, there's a lot of things you need to do. First off, don't just buy an engine and think you're going to drop it in. Buy a donor car. Find one that's close to the same year as this. This happens to be a 2003. So don't buy a 1997 minivan and then drop the motor in, because you're going to have a lot more problems. If you stay close in the years, Chrysler was pretty good about keeping things pretty standard. The transaxle is basically, this car was equipped with a 604. The minivan had a 604. I had to use the controller out of the original minivan because obviously you got 2 more drivers for 2 more injectors and 2 more cylinders to fire the coils. So there's a lot of things. If you just buy an engine, you're going to nickel and dime yourself to death on all kinds of little things that you need. You need little connectors and so on and so forth. It's almost like your own personal junkyard, and you can take everything off that minivan when you're done. Just send it off for scrap, and you get a couple $300 back on it. So let me start it up real quick, and I'll show you that it actually does run. So there it is. So if it's something you think you want to do, it can be done. I did this whole swap for about $1,000. You're probably saying, how did I do it so cheap? Well, a lot of it was, I bought the minivan, I then junked the minivan, I bought it for $700, scrapped it for $350. So I got half my money back right on the minivan itself. And then I sold other parts. I sold the catalytic converter, I sold the radiator, I sold the condenser, I sold all kinds of little parts off the minivan that I could, help build a fund to put this project together. Like I say, this was actually off the minivan. It kind of worked out good because I had to get around that battery. The air cleaner is actually in the fender now. I just used a foam type air cleaner. So that works out really well. The accessory drive is all from the minivan. Because part of the thing you want to do, if you're going to do something like this, don't change any more than you have to. Because the more you change, the more chances are it isn't going to work. Because Chrysler did all the research and development on that accessory drive system, and it works perfect, so why would I want to change it? You will have to do a little carving on the frame. This is actually the piece that I carved out of the frame that I used to make the motor mount. So that's one thing, but I'll get into more detail on that when I do the individual videos on the different systems. Like I say, when I mount the engine, I'll pick the car up on the hoist, show you the bottom side, all the different things I did down there. The one thing about the AC, which is going to be tough, is you can't use the original AC configuration because it's too big and it's just it uses up too much room. So what I did, thank God, SRT, if you have an SRT4, doesn't use the same system as the regular Neons. They actually use an expansion valve, and that gave you a whole bunch of room. The only hard part is getting this hose. This hose was almost impossible to find. You can't buy it aftermarket. You can't buy it from the dealer. Nobody has it. I was fortunate enough to find one in a junkyard in North Carolina. I went online, and they're kind of all tied together with the internet, and I was able to find this hose. I mean, it only cost me 20 bucks. I'd have paid 100, but don't tell them that. But there it is. But like I say, everything works. Air conditioning. It's the original radiator, original fan. There were some modifications that make to the fans to make that work. Battery I turned sideways, obviously, because on a normal Neon it sits this way. But there it is. So for an intro, I'm just kind of like showing you around the top side. Like I say, I'll have more videos in the future to show you how I did the air conditioning, the wiring, the bottom side. Again, I'll show you how I did all the bobble struts and things to keep the engine from torquing. But so bottom line is, the car runs fantastic. It is absolutely smooth. It is silky smooth. It is wonderful. It's fun to drive. It's not like an SRT where it's just all, you know, throw you back in a seat and throw you around with a stick shift. This thing is like driving a Chrysler 300 with an SRT. It's incredibly smooth, quiet. It shifts great, and it gets great fuel economy. So if you've got a Neon, don't do a first generation Neon, only do a second generation. Make sure that the car was equipped with a 604. There's a lot of things that you got to do. This car had skim on it, so did the van that I bought. It had skim. That's the alarm system. If you don't know how to bypass that, it'll never start because it thinks you're trying to steal it. So a lot of things to do. You might want to watch this video a couple, 3 times. You can look around, you can freeze anywhere you want to see what I did. This is my power steering reservoir here. There's my cruise control servo. I used the stock bottle for the coolant. And basically, that's kind of where we're at. So I hope you enjoy the video and expect more in the future as I go through and do more of these. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.